So today we're starting Chulin. We're going to be learning Chulin Samach Aleph, but we're still Samach Amud Beis. We're first going to learn a lot of Haggadah Gemaras, famous, very, very, very famous Haggadah Gemaras, and then when we finish the Amud, with Haggadah Gemara, we start the big, humongous Sugya de Nesher. This is the Sugya. One of the greatest sugyas. There's a bigger Reb Chaim and Sefer on this. And this starts the sugya of the Oifis, which is a sugya that's going to take us for 3 blot on exactly all the Oifis Atmeis that the Torah tells us about. Okay, we're going to Be'ez Hashem. We'll do at least. We'll see what we could, how much we could cover. We'll try to cover as much, at least finish Samach Aleph. Because Samach Aleph is a small blot, but it's mamish. It's small, but there's a lot to talk about. Okay, so the Heilige Gemara Samach Aleph on the days, the fourth line from the top. Reb Shimon ben Pazi Rabbi Kseh Vayasa l'kem es shnei. This is one of the most famous Haggadah Gemaras in Shas probably. Vayasa l'kem es shnei ha'mo'iris hagdolim. One pasuk says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made 2 mo'iris hagdolim, which is mashma that they were similar in size. Uksiv es hamara gadol es hamara katan. What's going on over here? Are they the same size, or there's a gadol and a cotton? Amra yerach l'nei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rebbeinu shalayla mefshel l'shnei melachim sheyishtamshu bekeser echad. Is it possible for 2 malachim to be mishtamish bekeser echad? We can't have 2 malachim. It's too much. It's going to be too much conflict. It can't be. And why do we have to? We have to. What's called it? And presumably the Areach wasn't saying anything, but his intention was that wink, wink, wink. We can't be the same size, and I'm the one that suggested it. So therefore, I get to stay my size, and he should be smaller, right? Amalah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told the Levana, Lechi u'miate es atzmeich. You should go make yourself smaller.
What's the Rebbe Yisrael's answer? He made it 2 together.
Oh, very geschmack. So I want to say, we're going to get to this. What do you mean malachim? Who's malachim here? Who's malachim? It's not Shefa. Fakert. You under a melech, you have a certain amount of competition. It's very healthy. Fakert. It's only because the Levana is looking at it as if somehow like Hilu and malachim over here. Maybe very geschmack, but I had the same shtel. Very geschmack. Okay. So the Gemara. Yeah. And this is going to be a problem because at the end it says, I didn't see, I just have it written down inside of my Gemara. At the end of the Gemara it says, Havu kapara alai shema'atati esa levana. So who did it, Lamai? So over here it says, you make yourself smaller. Or did the Eibush to make him smaller? What happened exactly? And how exactly did the Levana make himself smaller? Okay. I said something's a good taina. Every line over here needs a hezbollah. You know, this is not the no problem. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Levana, I'm going to give you a compensation prize. I'm going to go be Moshel, Sai B'yom, Sai B'layla, because the Levana is possible to be seen sometimes during the day. Amalei, Amralei, so Levana said, Ma'iravu say, what's the big deal? That's nothing. Because the Shraga B'tiara Mayahani, yeah? The Levana, his bottom line is, he doesn't want to just be present, he wants to dominate. And Lamaisa Shraga B'tiara May Mahani, because a candle in the middle of the day is worth nothing because the sun is overpowering. There's still a great thing. I'm giving you something that Klal Yisrael is going to be moina the Yamim v'shanim with Levana. Amra loy yoymanami efshed loymanu beit kufta. He's so busy. The Levana is so busy. Yeah, but the yoymanami, the sun's also going to have that because Lamaisa we have to count the seasons with the sun. So then he says, Zil, so the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still trying to compensate the Levana. So he says, Zil likru tzadiki bishmecha. Yaakov HaKatan, Shmuel HaKatan, David HaKatan. Now over here, let's shtel zich up for a second because it's very, very interesting. Yaakov HaKatan is a Mefurish Pasik. David HaKatan is a Mefurish Pasik. What's the Shmuel HaKatan? What's the Shmuel HaKatan? Where does it say Shmuel HaKatan? There's no such pasuk Shmuel HaKatan. Yeah? So what's the Shmuel HaKatan? What? So Kipshuta we know that's a Gemara. It's a Gemara in Brachos as well. That Shmuel was very young, and he was asked to. They were mechaber him to be miyasid the what's called it the piyut of the bracha of on Lam Hashinim, right? The Gemara calls him Shmuel HaKatan. He was very young, Shmuel HaKatan. But the problem that's by Shol. That says by Shol, yeah. So, but the problem is, what's with the order? So it should say Yaakov HaKatan, David HaKatan, then Shmuel HaKatan. It's out of order. This is the big problem over here. Vos epis, vos tutzach, the Shmuel HaKatan. So there's a lot of pshatim. There are those that change the gears and they put Shmuel HaKatan after David HaKatan. Taka. There's a interessant word from Rabbi Yankiv. Rabbi Yankiv wants to say that it's a mistake. He wants to say that Yankiv HaKatan, it said David HaKatan. It said on the side of the Gemara, where is it? It's a pasuk in Shmuel. And then it somehow fell into the Gemara, Shmuel HaKatan. But it wasn't supposed to be part of the Gemara. There's no really, Shmuel HaKatan was there. Yeah. That's what he wants to suggest. I want to suggest a different shot. If the Ilm has a second, I'll tell you a different shot. The Gemara is a famous story with Shmuel HaNavi when he was a child, right? And his Chana kept him home for the first couple of years, and then he comes the first time he shows up to what's called, he shows up to Beis Hamikdash, and he sees that they're scurrying around looking for a sheichet, so he asks what's the problem. They're looking for a kain to shecht. So he says, what do you mean? What do we need a kain to shecht? Well, shchita bizarre is ksher, right? Right, and so they brought him in front of Eli, and Eli says, "You're right. Abel Maisa, you mechayiv misa because why? Because Moira Hayra b'fnei Rabach, right? That was it. Zokt to Frektoises. What do you mean? He just showed up today. Was Rabach? So Tosis says two terutzim. I mean, Tosis says like this. It's not clear exactly if it's one teretz or two terutzim. But one teretz of Tosis is that the halacha moira rab v'nei rabbi is because he was. Tosis says Eli was the gadol hador, and he was coming to learn by him. So it's not clear if it means one or two. But I'm pretty sure that Shumas Hadeshan learns that it's two separate halachas. Well, two separate things. One is a gadol hador, and one is, or what's called it, is that he was coming to learn by him. So if he's coming to learn by him, the pshat is, so that's why he's calling him Rabbi. Rabbi, right? But if it's the gadol hador, why is he calling it Rabcha? That means Rav, big. Gadol hador, he's the gadol hador, and he is, so if Eli is the gadol, so Shmuel was called the Katan. So I'm suggesting that that's where it's not a pasuk, but we have a chazal that Shmuel was known as the Katan because Eli was the gadol, and that's maybe a suggestion. So that's a time where we know for sure that Shmuel was clearly considered Katan.
I never understood how that works.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that Levana is not happy. Yeah. Whatever this means, what does it mean a kapara alai? What is this? What's this whole concept? You have what? Very stark. Saying very geschmack as far as Shenema boy Lashem. There's all the soya. There's always a soya lachatos, and all the soya lachatos. None of them says Lashem except by Rosh Chodesh. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu soya is the one that you bring on Rosh Chodesh, which represents the Levana. That's when it starts. The new moon. Yehei kapara al shemiatati asay yarech. It should be a kapara on the fact that I shemiatati asay yarech. Over here it says shemiatati, that I made smaller.
It's strange. It sounds like it's a kapara for the rebuttal.
Yeah, but the question is, the Gemara says we're bringing the chachas.
Asi Rami Ksiv Atitzi Oretz Desha. Betlas b'Shabbato. It says on the third day that the what, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought out the grass from the ground. Oh, and then later on it says that the Mali Shabbato, that there was still on Friday that the what's called the Siach HaSodeh did not yet sprout. Malamed sheyotu d'shayim, that the d'shayim went out. They already, the seeds already sprouted, and they already grew. V'omdu al pesach karka, and they got up till the ground. They got mamish up till they were almost sticking out. Until Adam Rishon came, so they had already they already created grass, but they didn't come out. We didn't see them. And then Lamaisa, and then they were mamish right by the doorstep, and then all we needed one little tefillah, and then they exploded out. They were mamish by the doorstep. Not the pshat is that somebody has to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do something, something that Kaviyachol he doesn't want to do. Adirabba, he's holding it back, but it's right here, and it's mamish right there, and just that little tefillah, and psh, they come out. And he has it all lined up. It's all lined up, mamish right there. He had this garden, Shadi Bei Bizrani, and he threw it. He put seeds, and it didn't grow. Boy Rachme, he said a tefillah. All of a sudden it rained and it sprouted. That's mamish the story of Ravasi, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu was waiting and holding back the mitra, and as soon as he said a tefillah, the mitra came and it grew. So we have to keep on going. This is also a massive sugya. It's really a sugya in Nida, and we can't be marich, but there is a pasuk. There's the four animals, right? There's the four animals that are that either malageru or mafres parsa, and that are not kosher, right? We have the gamol, the arneves, and the shafon, and we have the chazir, right? Now, in one of the times when the Torah brings it down, the Torah says hashesua. Now, what does it mean hashesua? So hashesua is referring to something that is also not right? It's a pasuk in Devarim. It says, and the question is, what is this? Right before it says, "Es hagam v'saneves v'sashafon," and etc. So, what's this hashasua? So, the Gemara over here is bringing down the nusach of Shmuel, even though it's a machlekes Rav and Shmuel. And what is hashasua? Beria b'fnei atzmi sheyesh lo shnei gabim v'shnei shedrois. It has two backs and two spines. Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about over here, but I just want to suggest that it could be the Gemara saying a gewaldige Zach. This is, you have to go through all the cheshbonis how it stems, but there's the Welt has a kasha that we know that Yesek Kenotel Dami, right? Yesek Kenotel Dami, you just had such a sugya. So, and we know, and Tosa says Yesek Kenotel Dami on on if somebody has two heads is a yesek inotel dami, right? So a yesek inotel dami, right? If two heads is and that's the Gemara over there. The Gemara over there with the two heads, right? We had the whole sugya, the Gemara in Menachos, yeah. That's that there's a yesek inotel dami on two heads. So the question is that there are specific cases nowadays of people that are living much more than 12 months, and there's a famous twins that are girl twins, and this what did you say? Gemara is saying something else. Sometimes it comes to a point where it's not a yesek and natal dami. It's two people that are attached somewhere. Right? If you have two people that are attached with one little piece of skin, you have two twins that are coming, they're attached. They're also yes, not to love you. You don't have two people here. That's not a yes. Not the pshat is. It's one person with two heads. It's not one person with two hands. It's two people that are shtickle attached. That's what the Gemara said. That's what the pasuk is being mechadish. There's a new thing called a shesua. Is Rashi says to umim. It's beria b'fnei atzmu sheish l'shtei gav v'sheish adrois, and it's says Siamese twins, and that's what the Torah is answering. The Torah is answering Siamese twins, not al yesek and natal dami, but it comes to a point where it's not notel, it's tu'umim. Okay, that's what we want to suggest. Let's go right. Now it's not clear. There's two ways how to learn this Gemara, but the Pashtus and Tosfos learns is that this is a hemshech. V'chi Moshe Rabbeinu knigni haya oibalistri haya. Was Moshe Rabbeinu a knigni means somebody who was trained in animal fighting, bullfighting. A ballistery is somebody who was an archer or arching teacher. So where did he know about these exotic animals? That's how Kipshutais. And now Tosfos wants to know that it's totally the machlokes Rav and Shmuel if we're talking about if this shesua comes from a kosher animal, not a kosher animal, and if it comes from a kosher animal, Tosfos, so why do you have to be a knigni for? I could be even without a knigni, and I can know about the shesua. It comes from a kosher animal. Tosfos says maybe it doesn't even come. Maybe it's so unusual that you have to be a knigni pashit to have seen it, even if it comes from a kosher animal. That's Tosfos. However, Ram Shef famously says that the Gemara is not a hemshech to the Gemara before. One thing is Hashasua, and then we're saying the Moshe Rabbeinu knigni haya blistri haya is going back on the klal of this whole sugi that we had, that there are klalim here in the parsha that are mitziasin, that even though we found many more animals, but certain rules still remain. And how is it possible for Moshe Rabbeinu to have known the mashal that we're not going to find another animal that's Mafres Parsa, not Malagera, is something that's taka that has withstood the test of time. How did Moshe Rabbeinu know that? It must be that he's it must be that Torah is min hashamayim. Sagt die Gemara weiter. Yeah? Sagt die Gemara weiter. Amalei Rav Chizda Rav Techlifa Baravina. So he said the lashon of knigni or blistery. Rav Chizda Rav Techlifa Baravina. He says, Zilk soiv knigni ubalisteri b'agadosech. You write down those two words. Write it down in your agadosech. Upirsha and the explanation. Because those two words are really sharp, very articulate words, and they're nice words, and you should use them b'agadosech. It would seem, Taka, that it's the most appropriate by agada. Agada is something that's it's supposed to sound good. It's not supposed to muchazach. It's supposed to be easy to hear, and it's supposed to be Gishmak. So Mamela, he wanted to make sure that in the Agada, we're not talking about Agada Shopesa, we're talking about in his Agada Torah, make sure that you can retain these two words. Remember the word knigni and blistery. I just want to also point out that he said ksoiv, because private nachberesin they did have, even though they were not The Gemara was not written yet, right? Even though they weren't writing it, but obviously they kept their private machberisin that they held on to. And now we're going to bring down another Gemara. We had the same concept of holding on to fancy words. Chamesha sarnei plishtim ha'azati v'ashtudi v'ashkoloini hagati v'akreini v'avim. So the pasuk doesn't make sense. It's a pasuk in short that it says chamesha sarnim plishton, and then it counts out 6. What's going on over here? Is it 5 or is it 6? So chamisha v'chashuv shita. That's the kasha. Rabbi Yonason arunki shalahem chamisha. When it says chamesha sarnei plishtim, that's the mechubadim shalahem. That's the chashuv ones. There was 5 of these 6. Arunki shalahem chamisha. And again, Amalei Rav Chizkiah of Techilif Ravina Ksoiv Arunki bagadosech. Oh, that's a nice word. Upirsha, write it down because that's also another word that's very articulate. You should have it in your repertoire when you're darshaning your Haggadahs. So, but now that we brought that in, so now we're going to talk about that case of this pasuk of Chamisha Sarnei Plushtim. We have another teretz. Upli Gedravd Amarav Avim Mitaimon Bo. The Avim, they came from Taimon. Yeah, and Halt Cheshbon, because we're going to remember Rashi's going to come back to this, that Taimon is from the Bnei Esav. So we have 2 pshatim. Either the Avim is part of the Plishtim, or Avim is from Taimon, which is an enical of Esav through Eliphaz. Okay. Avim mitaimon bo. So Mela what? So what's the teretz of Avim mitaimon bo? So Mela, they're not Plishti. They're from a different family. They're from Esav. And Mela, that's why it's not shver, right? Tanya nami hachi Avim mitaimon bo. V'lo kishmon Avim she'ivsu es mekaimam, because they left that place and the place got destroyed. It just fell apart because of it was left desolate. They left again. They left to the Plishtim. They joined the Plishtim, the Plishti religions, and they ended up with that's the lashon of Avim. Avis is also some kind of a shaking thing. Why? Anybody that sees the Avim, they get really shaky. Why? Rabbi Yosef v'islu shitzeri dari shini l'chol chad v'chad. Everyone has 16 rows of teeth, and this male, they have a very, very scary look, these Avim, and that's why the lashon of Avim is. We're going to come back to these Avim. Amr Shimon Lakish Harbe Mikrois Sheru'im Lisraif Vehein Heim Gofei Torah. Very interesting lashon. Harbe Mikrois Sheru'im Lisraif. They're psukim that seemingly one wants to burn. Vehein Heim Gofei Torah. So there's a word that everybody says over. What's this odd lashon of Sheru'im and Lisraif? It says a murdi gevart. They say because the pshat is there's a famous Mishnah in Kol Kisvei that says that you're only allowed to save the Sifrei Kodesh, but they're not the Sifrei, not Svarim Chitzoniim. So that's his point. His point is that there are psukim in the Torah that seem like they're chol, that you should let them burn. You shall leave them in the fire. That's the Sharuyim Lisroif. But anyway, of the Hainaim Gufei Torah. But so in other words, but the Ikka point of Rish Lakish is that there are psukim in the Torah that seem like very mundane and they don't seem appropriate to be in the Torah. And Balamaisa, there's tremendous chidushim that are in these psukim. And we're going to go through till the end of the sugya a whole bunch of psukim that seem like historical events that the Torah is just saying. Oh, this one started here, and then this one took over that nation, that one took over that nation, and it seems like irrelevant, but it's all Givaldige Chedushim, and there's tremendous amount of Chedushim. Rashi is Meirich, and there's a Ramban that argues, maybe we'll say over one Ramban that's Mamish not Shaykh. Okay, let's see what we can get through. Mamish Murdige Chedushim in all the nations, who they were, what they were, and exactly who's, and the concept of Kibbutz Mochama, and if a guy could be Kibbutz from a guy, and a Yid could be There's a lot of Torah all on these umos. Sagt die Gemara, "Va'avim hayoshim b'chatzerim adaza." What? Yeah, the pasuk says, "Va'avim hayoshim b'chatzerim adaza hishmidum." Va'avim hayoshim b'chatzerim adaza kaftorim hayotzim mikafta hishmidum v'yoshu tachtim. It started off with the avim, and the kaftorim came and took it. What does the pasuk want? What does the pasuk want? Yeah. Who cares? Zok the Gemara, I'll tell you. Mid Ashbei Avimelech Lavrom Im Tishkeli Ulanini Lenechti. Now again, this is going Lashita Swat, Lashita. So Rashi explains that the Avim Loit Rish Lakish is like the first Shita, that the Avim were from the Sarnei Plishtim. So if they're a Plishti, so Memeluam. Ashbei Avimelech Avram Im Tishkeli Ulanini Lenechti. Avram Avinu swore to Avimelech that he's not going to take away from his grandchildren any land, and the Avim are part of that peace treaty. So Klai would not be able to get this land. Why? Because we wouldn't be able to get B'chatzerim Adaza. Why? Because it's in the hands of the Avim. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu leisu kaftorim lefku me'avim dainu plishtim v'leisu Yisrael lefku mikaftorim. Now, once the kaftorim come here, and they'll be tiaru b'sicha in the same kind of concept, they'll take it, and Kaisel could conquer from kaftorim. They'll be able to take it away. Once the avim lose it to the kaftorim, Kaisel could get it from the kaftorim. And Rashi says, very simple, very gishmak, that the same word you'll say if the avim are from Taimon, because the Avma Taimon meaning that they are Esav, and the same thing that we can't take from Yerusha Nasatila. We can't take from Esav either. So Memela again, the Kaftarim will have to kasha from Esav. Yeah, that's a Rashi tells. Now Rashi takes a big detour here, and he goes like this: V'shar mikrois adoimim lozeh be'elu advarim. When it says ubisar yoshva chayrim umayavim v'amoinim refoim yoshvu ba. Right? Psagan tzarichas here. There was refoim, doesn't refoim. Right? What's going on over here? Zok Rashi a whole ganze story. Zok Rashi that the pshat is that be'etzem. Klal Yisrael knew that the Eretz Rephaim was promised to Avram Avinu. So therefore, we came to this place and they wanted to get it. They wanted to conquer it because this is part of Eretz Rephaim. Zok the pasuk, no. Rephaim Yashu ba a long time ago. But then Ammon and Moav took it now. Now Ammon and Moav took it. You can't get it. So where's your Eretz Rephaim? Oh, and then it says, Ahu Yikari Eretz Rephaim. That means, Hahisha Nasati Lavichem. In other words, there was a first Eretz Rephaim that they passed by that you can't have, because that's now in the hands of Ammon and Moav. But there's other ones that are Hahu Yikari Eretz Rephaim, Husha Nasati Lavichem. There's that's one word. Now, there's another interessanta Ramban, where Ramban says that Rephaim are really referred to the Chivi, I believe. And it's another name for Chivi. The Chivi, like the Ramban, have like 4 or 5 names. And Memela the Ramban learns a different thing. Not that the pshat is that there was a svara of Eretz Rephaim because it's Avram Avinu. A different word. The word is like this. The Rephaim is the Chivi. And since it's the Chivi, so Klal Yisrael has a right to take from the Shev B'nai from the Chivi, because they're from the Eretz Canaan. So they had a right to come. So Rephaim Yashvu Ba. But the pasuk says no. From Yashvuba. So you should have got it. But now that Amin Amoyev took it, so we have a reverse tiaru. Now Amin Amoyev took it, and now you can't get it. That's what Ramban says.
Why can't we get it from Amalamayev?
Because again, it says Al Tiskaba Muhammad.
Huh?
Al Tiskaba Muhammad. We're not allowed to take what Amin Amoyev, right? Yeah. Interessant svara. So normal. It comes out like the Ramban. We always have Amin Amoyev Tiaru B'Sichain, right? That it was a chesed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu was metayr things B'Sichain. That he did it for us, right? And it could be it is true, but like the Ramban, it goes both ways. You have sometimes where the pshat is where Amin Amoyev took things and we can't get it. Okay, Zok Gemara right. Zok Gemara. This is the famous one. Melech HaMoirihi. Cheshbon was Sichain. Melech HaMoirihi. V'unilcham b'Melech Moav. And you know where he got it from? You want to know where Sichain got his city? Cheshbon, I'll tell you. He nilcham b'Melech Moav. My nafkamina. Who cares where he got it from? Yeah. So Zaktimara, this pshat. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Klal Yisrael, you can't fight with Moav, you can't conquer anything from them. Well, I'll have Sichain come and pluck it away from Moav. They'll take it from Moav, and then Klal Yisrael and then Klal Yisrael could already take it, snatch it from Sichain, because with Sichain we could fight. Tiaru b'sichain, right? There's a famous and Rashi's Ma'arich to go through the psukim in Yeshua as well, where you have psukim where which referring to this thing. It says v'hoyu lahem agvul yazev v'chol eretz hagilad v'chatzi eretz b'nei Ammon. How do you have chatzi b'nei Ammon, right? And it says what they are, and they're obviously part of Mamlechas Sichain. However, and also by Yiftach, when they had the thing, he's who came arguing for it? Bnei Ammon came arguing that Kilokach Yisrael is Arti Me'arnan Ayaboik. Right? What do you mean Klal Yisrael? Klal Yisrael never got into a fight with Ammon. The teretz is because Sichain had taken it from Ammon, and they still considered their right. They didn't recognize Sichain's rights on it, and they clearly didn't. And they definitely didn't recognize Klal Yisrael's rights on it. But we hold that they were kind of kibush milchama, and that's a very, very, very shayt is the gezach that there's no question. All Rishonim hold that there is kibush milchama from akum to akum. The machloikis is if there's kibush milchama, it's a big says the machloikis Rashi and the Ramban. If there is kibush milchama on on Akum mi Yisrael, Lamashal, on such a thing by what we said before if it belonged to the Chivi, if Klal Yisrael already had it, is there a kibush milchama? Would the guy be able to take it that we can't get it? We can't get it back. That's a big machlokes rishonim if there's such a concept. In other words, does the Torah recognizes kibush milchama from Akum la'akum, but does the Torah recognize kibush milchama from Akum mi Yisrael? And the svara is very gishmak, because I just want to link to the svara. I like the svara very, very much. The reason why the Torah recognizes kibush milchama akum me akum, even if it doesn't recognize akum mi Yisrael, is because in their nimusim for sure they recognize kibush. The guy definitely respects conquering, right? And therefore, in his world, kibush works. So the Torah recognizes the two of them fought it out, and they recognize that kibush works. So therefore, the Torah recognizes it. However, the Torah doesn't have to recognize something kibush because we don't recognize kibush. Even if we don't recognize kibush from Goy to a Yisrael, but we'll recognize kibush akum pasha because they both recognize it in their own rules, right? So it's mistaber that we should that the Torah should recognize it also. It's pasha. It makes sense.
We recognize it to some degree. We recognize.
Yes, like the Marvite. Another pasuk. Zidonim yikru lechermoin sirma. You know what the Zidonim call the mountain Kermoin? Syrian. What's going on here? So the Gemara Nacha pasuk. Yeah, who cares what the Zidonim are calling the Kermoin? What's going on here? So the Matana Snir v'Syrian mehari Eretz Yisrael. Snir and Syrian were the name of two other mountains in Eretz Yisrael. I don't know where they were. They all built themselves cities on Chermon. And they called their cities Al Shem Hori Eretz Yisrael. Ubana like Krakodl Atzmoy v'Hellei Al Shem Hori Eretz Yisrael. Lam d'chosh afilu Hori Eretz Yisrael Chavivin Al Umas Ha'olam. Yeah, that the pshat is that so therefore they called Chermoin Snir v'Syrian because Snir v'Syrian are the names of Israel of Eretz Yisrael, of names of Hori Eretz Yisrael, like we find all over America. There's a million. What? What did you say?
We find by hospitals, Mount Sinai.
Mount Sinai. We find how many Jerusalems are there, and how many Goshens and Jerichos and all of them. All the cities of Eretz Yisrael, there's tremendous amount in every state. Yeah. So right there. So another one last pasuk, which seems like just a historical tidbit, but obviously it's showing a tremendous amount of chesed from Yosef. That you should just know that Yosef, he took advantage of the Mitzrayim since they were on his payroll, and he made them move. Because he knew that the Shvatim are going to come, and they're going to come, and people are going to say they're newcomers, and they're immigrants, green air, kreis vas, and so therefore he set the stage beforehand that all the Mitzrayim were also not so comfortable. They all had just moved in locally, and therefore it'll be a little bit easier for Klal Yisrael in Galus Mitzrayim. Okay, now we're starting the sugya of Nesher Simoni Oifle Nemru. So the Mishnah says like this. The Mishnah says that even though it doesn't say in the Torah the Simoni Oif, but Chazal, we'll see where this comes from. The Chachamim said Avru Amru Chachamim that what Kol Oif Hadoiris is Tamei. And if it has these three simone, right? These three simonim. So let's first separate. There's 4 simonim, right? There's going to be 4 simone taira, and 3 of them are called simonim shebegufay. Why are they called shebegufay? Because they're physical simonim, and one of them is not begufay. What's the one not begufay? It's a trait which is about kol oif hadoros. Now, how to read the simple reading of the Mishnah is going to be difficult because the Mishnah seems to say that oif hadoros is tamei, right? And then if it has these 3 things, it's kosher. If it's kol yesh le zefek, etzbe yisera and kukavan and niklaf, then it's tahor, right? So it seems like you need all 3. And we're going to see exactly what the rules are. It's b'chlal not like that. We'll see exactly what the halachas are and exactly how we are going to be knowing. So let's just go through quickly what these 4 traits are. But before we talk about these traits, let's go. We'll talk about these traits and then we'll talk about what a nesher. So you say that a nesher is an eagle, right? It's totally in a tremendous machlokes rishonim. Here's Tosfos. Very good, Moshe. Tosfos over here. What?
Actually,
I can't hear you.
It is called an eagle.
What did you say?
It is called an eagle when it comes out.
Who?
Translated. Nesher is an eagle.
Zog Tosfos. Ukemoi kain. This is Tosfos Samach Gimel Amud Aleph. Ukemoi kain toyim gabe nesher shekoirin
An eagle.
egla the einoi. It can't be. The Nasher Yesh Loi Dalet Simani Tuma. That's going to be our sugya today. That the Nasher is the quintessential Oif Tame. It has all 4 Simani Tuma, and it's the only one like Rashi. The Egla Yesh Loi Etzbi Yisera. This is Tosfos argues with some of you.
It has only one. The eagle.
What?
The eagle has only one. He's saying.
So Tosfos says, based on his understanding of what Etzbi Yisera is. What? Oh, yeah. Now I'm going to tell you like this: there is almost in this sugya. What's so difficult about the sugya is that there's no certains, meaning that there's nothing here you can know for sure. We don't know what Etzbi Yisera is. There's 3 shittas in what Etzbi Yisera is. There's 3 shittas there's maybe 4 shittas in Doris. We don't know what a Nesher is. We don't know anything. Okay? There's so many variables here. It's hard to get started, right? And the well-known, the Gemara says that the Nesher has, we'll start with something. The Gemara says that the Nesher has all 4 Simani Tuma, meaning that it's Ein Lo Zefek, Ein Lo Yetzbi Yisera, and it's Ein Kuvane Niklav, right? Right? It is Doris, that's for sure. It's Doris. Okay, that I'll give you, right? But and Tosfos asks a kasha that it's Yesh Lo Yetzbi Yisera. So the question is, maybe there's a different shittas in Yetzbi Yisera. We'll show you that in a second. But what's with the Zefek? It has a Zefek. Our eagle has a Zefek. It does have a Zefek. So I'll just tell you, there's terutzim, there's kashas, it all needs hesberim, and I'm not saying there's plenty of work here. But the Sichos Chulin wants to say that the zefek of an eagle works differently than other zefeks. Other zefeks, all the food sits there and it starts to decay in the zefek. Right? You remember what the zefek is? Let me. Yeah. So the zefek is the storage spot where a bird, before it just eats things, it gobbles it up into the zefek, and then it slowly goes into its korkavan. Right? So the Sichos Chulin wants to suggest that the reason why we say that a nesher's ein lo zefek is because its zefek works differently. That it doesn't sit, all the food sit there and then it goes slowly into the korkavan. It works the opposite. That when it got too much food and it's too what's called, and it can't there's no, its stomach is full, so it like works as like a spillover. Yeah, it works like a spillover tank, and it moves back into the zefek. It's extra food if it gets one. But the problem with that pshat is it's very nice that he found some kind of a scientific study that's how it works by the eagle, and I trust him 100%. I believe him. But it's supposed to be a simanim shebegufay, which means that if you check it, you'll find it. I'm going to be able to, I'm going to check this bird, I'm going to find this sack, and I'm going to say, oh, this is the other way. It's a spillover sack. How do I know? It's not a siman b'chlal. If if the reason why we're not calling it a zef, yeah, maybe it looks.
Check it once, and then this min is.
I know, but.
And then this min is.
Okay, so now you're getting into the concept of min. Okay, we'll see. But so I'm just telling you, there are a lot of different shatim. There are those that want to suggest that the nesher is maybe a more in the vulture family. But the question, and there is such a shmuz, because the lashon of nesher is a lashon of Hakadosh Baruch Hu made of just a quick thing. There's predator birds, and then there's the vulture family. The vulture family, what's fascinating about it is Hakadosh Baruch Hu made, and with tremendous amount of daikonos and everything, it's partially just like everything in this world. If you're Mason Lev and you study these things, you see how carefully things were put together. It's obviously put together with tremendous, with all the chesed elyon. One of the things is the vultures, where Hakadosh Baruch Hu made that these birds, they could see from far away, they could see carcasses that are decaying, and they don't kill anything. They only clean up. They only eat decaying animals, but they can see from very, very far, and they come and they descend on a carcass, and they clean up they're the garbage collectors. And one of the fascinating things about the vulture is that they have in their stomach, they have a tremendously high, much higher than us, a very, very, very high acid count, because they're eating old decaying meat, and nobody else could deal with it, but a vulture has no problem. It's meant for this. It was built for this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu built him to clean out the garbage, and Memela, he has an unbelievable, so he has all the acid. It's much like many. We have also a little bit of acid to break down the food, but not even close. The vulture has many times more. But another thing a vulture has is vultures all have no feathers on their head. Why don't they have feathers on their head? Because they're sticking their head into these old decaying animals. So Mamela, it shouldn't get dirty, and that's why they don't have. So there are those Rishonim. What? Condors, right? Condors, I think, is from the same family. Could be, but anyway. So there are Rishonim. What?
And buzzards.
Right. Oh yeah, buzzards. I'm not sure.
You find those out more.
I don't know. Anyway, so there are those Rishonim that want to say that that's where the lashon of nesher is, because it's like it's what's called it. It's missing the what's called it. Its feathers are missing on the top. Okay. Anyway, Bekitza, we don't know. We're going to learn the sugya Be'ez Hashem. We're going to learn the sugya without knowing which birds we're talking about. Okay, we don't know. We're really running blind. Let's just talk about a few other simanim real quickly. We saw this already. What's that? Here's the three shittas of what Etzbi Yisera is. Yeah, Etzbi Yisera. The two shittas. Either Etzbi Yisera means that its finger is longer, right? You see that, the Ran. Or Rashi seems to say that the Etzbi Yisera is that one that's in the back, that spur, that's spur like finger. That's what Etzbi Yisera is. Here you see that these oifos are Einlam Etzbi Yisera. These are two very famous treifa birds, which is the ostrich, which is called the basayana. Right, we're going to have that. We're going to talk about the basayana. Basayana is also a very fascinating bird. It's a non-flight bird, but it's a bird. It's a bird that the Torah talks about. Right. The reason why we say there are those that say, I think he brings down sichas in Chulin Illuminated. The reason why it says basayana, why do we say basayana? Yeah, so some say that's the name. For some reason, it's called basayana. But there are those that want to say that the reason why we say basayana is because a regular ostrich is very, very tough meat. But a young one is the pasuk is talking about what you want to eat. What you don't want to eat, you would eat a basayana, not the yana itself. Okay. Anyway, here this is the owl, which is definitely one of the we're going to see this. We're going to see this. A couple of owls in the Chaf Dal Oifes Hatmeim. And here you see that these nails, this one doesn't have one higher, and it doesn't have one sticking out longer. Okay, what did you say? Drisa, and then we have to get to the Gemara. So now there are a few shittas in what doiris is. Yeah, Rashi says that. Very interesting Rashi and Tosfos over here. Rashi in the Mishnah says that what a doiris is an animal that holds up its food. And Tosfos says, what? Yeah, Zok Tosfos, what do you mean? Kol tar the guy of the Meisim came. That's Tosfos by us. Yeah? Tosfos by us, daf. Give me a Pirish b'kontre shoiches b'tziparna v'magbia b'nakarka ma shoichel v'kashla b'nitan ta'avilu ta'avilu the Meisim came. Yeah, that's what Tosfos asks. Frekter Rashash. I don't know what Tosfos is talking about. I never saw a tarna go hold the food up to its mouth. Never saw it. Yeah. So that's the what I'm sorry. What do you want? Yeah. No problem. Okay. So now just the Rashash. It could be. I was just maybe a shtickle medaik that the question is if it holds it up a little bit or holds it all the way to the mouth. It could be that's the shaila, the machlokes in between the Rashash and Toises, that the Rashash wants to know that he never saw anybody bring it up to its mouth, but bringing it up, picking it up a little bit. It could be it is shaykh, and Rashi Taka needs it to be brought up to the mouth. So it could be that's the shmooze. Okay, but anyway, the other side is that it holds down the food like this, like we see in this raven over here on the bottom, where it's holding down its food and it's holding it down and it's holding it down. That would be another doiris. Is that it catches food in the ear, like this raven is catching food in the ear, or anybody could see by every seagull catches in the air. Now, one of the simanim that's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that we have also, and we use this simon is if there's the test of the wire test. If you see that certain oif that's used to being doiris, if it comes to a wire, it will do 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Mashenk and a chicken never does 2 in the front, 2 in the back, except famously the whole Leghorn tumul. If you remember, there was an issue a couple of years ago about the Leghorn chickens that are the chickens that lay eggs. That there was a big tumul that somebody claimed that some of those chickens do they do when they put onto a wire, they do split their two and two in the front and 2 in the back, which would indicate that it's a doiris. I'm sorry. Here's korkavon niklaf. Here we have a korkavon. Every one of us have eaten a korkavon, which is the gizzard. We've eaten it. They have the process where they open up the korkavon. If you go through see the process 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you see it, they have first on the top is a korkavon that's all closed with all its food and garbage inside. They cut it open and they take out the garbage, and then they peel off the inner skin, which is too hard and tough and we can't eat, and you're left with a gizzard, which is something that goes into a lot of people's chont. That is the korkavon nikaf. Now we have to rush. Oh, and one last thing. This is not so negea today. It's not so negea today's sugya, but I have the picture here, so I'm going to just point it out that we're going to see that there's a machlokes Sfaradim and Ashkenazim. There's a machlokes between the Mechaber and the Ramah. The Ramah, we're makbid on Chumas Rashi, and we don't need anything without a Mesorah. Anything. Mashenkin, right? And that's how the Ashkenazim hold. Mashenkin. What? No, this is a duck. But the mechaber is meko. The mechaber and the Sfaradim are meko when it comes to something that has that like a oif hamayim that has a big beak and webbed feet. That over there you don't need a mesorah, and that's the last picture that I want to show. Let's see the Gemara of Nesher. Okay. We already spoke about that a nesher is not maybe not an eagle. We don't know what it is, right? Now, the Gemara is going to say like this. The Gemara is going to say, very interesting, I'm giving you a quick akdama in the Messias. The Gemara's akdama is like this, that a nesher is the only bird, or at least of the chav daled oifis. Now, the pasuk, there's 2 parshias, right? It says the oifis atmeis in 2 places. It says the oifis atmeis in Shmini, and it says it in Re'eh. Right? Now, and it says slightly different lists. We're going to discuss that Be'ez Hashem in 2 blat. The Yishalmi says that the reason why we have 19 brachas in Shemona Esrei is corresponds to the 19 oifes atmeis. So there is a number of 19, which in one of the psukim it says has 19 oifes atmeis. However, Bavli always goes with the number of chavdal, that there are 24 altogether. There are 24 oifes atmeis. Now, of these 24 oifes atmeis, here is the cheshbon. There's only one bird. From the chavdal oifes, for sure, there's only one bird that doesn't have any of the simoni taira. That's the nesher. That's the nesher. We don't know if the nesher means the eagle. The nesher. The nesher does not have any simoni taira. Okay. That's the nesher. Then there's 20 of them that have 3 simonei taira. Okay? 3 simonei taira. So you have the nesher has none. The 20 out of the 24 have 3 simonei taira. The oirev has only 2 simonei taira. And then the peres and the ozniya are the only ones that have 1 each. Again, so let's do the cheshbon again. The nesher is the only one that has none. The peres and the ozniya have 1 each. The oirev has 2, and all the rest have 3 simonei taira. Now, which one? That is where the Rishonim go to town, trying to figure out which one it is. Rashi seems to hold that we don't know, that Chazal didn't know. But the point is like this: Nesher has none. Peres and Ozniya each have 1, but the Gemara is going to say that even though they each have 1, it's not the same one. And the Gemara is going to say like this: the 3 simonei taira that the 20 of them have is all the same. They all have the same siman taira. Okay, 20 of them have 3 simonei taira, and it's the same siman taira that they all have. And the peres or the azniya, we don't know which one, shares in one of them. There's one siman that is not, that these 20 don't have, which is the 4th siman, which is called, since all the rest of them don't have it, it's called the mechudeshes. That's how we're going to refer to it. The mechudeshes, only 2 birds have it, the nesher and either the peres or the ozniya. Okay, so let's go to the cheshbon again. Nesher, no simonei taira. Oirev, 2 simonei taira. The other 4, the other 20. Nesher, no simonei taira. Peres and ozniya each have 1 each, but different ones, and one of them has the mechudeshes. The oirev has 2 simonei taira, and 20 of them have 3 simonei taira. Okay? Now, there's another bird that we know about, which is the Teirim b'nei Yoina. The Teirim have all 4 simonei taira. Okay? Let's zok the Gemara. Zok the Gemara right. Zok the Heilige Gemara. Simonei ha'if loy nemru v'loy. The pasuk, the Mishnah says that the simonei ha'if don't say it in the Torah. V'loy v'hatanya. We have a brisa, and the brisa learns up a drasha legabe these simonim from Nesher. Ma Nesher miyuchid. Isn't Nesher is miyuchid she'ein loy etz b'yisera v'zefek ve'ein kol kavanei niklaf v'doiris v'oichel tamei af kol ki yotze boy tamei af kol ki yotze boy tamei. That everything that's like a nesher, that it has all 4 simonei taira, that it's missing all 4 simonei taira, is tummy. Now, what are we coming to add? So Tosfos says it's mashma that we're coming to add any other animal that is anything else that doesn't have any simonei taira. That's how Tosfos learns. But Rashi says that there's a Gemara later on is going to say that the Torah knew that there's not any that there's very few simonei to very few oifes hatmeis, and therefore the Torah was pirate only all the 24 simonei the oifes hatmeis, and the rest are kosher. So Mamela, if the Torah was pirate all the oifes hatmeis, so how could we go and be marba something else from Nesher? So Rashi, we're not being marba anything else. We're being marba that anything else is called a nesher, is a min nesher, right? Tosfos says no, it's not a nesher, it's not a min nesher. Now, kipshutai, it's only a lam d'shashayla, right? It's really a lam d'shashayla. It's nothing more than a lam d'shashayla because everybody's masking that any oif that's going to come here with 4 simonei tumah without is tummy, right? It's just that Rashi is going to call it a min nesher from the nesher family, And Taisus is going to say, no, it's not a Nesher. I can learn it up anyway. But there's no machlokes in Lamda. There's no machlokes in Halacha, right? Everyone's masking that it's going to be, right? And, okay, that's Kipshutoi. Pashtus is only a Lamda Shashayla. Okay. Yeah, and I'll just tell you by Agavolcha that I checked up, what's the definition of the word eagle? What? Yeah, this is a very, very big, important thing, and this is going to be an issue throughout Chulin. What do we call them in? What do we not call them in? When we have to classify things, we have to decide how you classify some things, and where do you draw the line? And this is a very, very, very important shaila, and it's a shaila over here also. It would seem, at least in Shitas Rashi, that the definition of Nesher is defined by these four things. So if you want to know if you're a Nesher, do you have these four?
Anything that has these four
is a Nesher, is at least a min Nesher. Now, at least a min Nesher, maybe min Nesher is not Nesher, it could be, but it's min Nesher. So what? How do you know if you're in the Nesher family if you have these four attributes? That's how Rashi. That's how.
Something something else.
That's no. So we're going to see what the Gemara is going to say is like this. The Gemara is going to say like this: Nesher is the only one that. Nesher is the only one. If you have all the four simoni tuma, so then you're a min Nesher and you're tamei. Everything else is tahar, as long as you recognize the rest of the birds, because the rest of the birds, the Torah specifically said that even though they have some simoni Torah, but they're still awesome.
The other 24, those that have some simoni Torah, but even though that.
But Ava became the Torah was parrot and then said that also. So right. So the only one I could learn up from is Nesher. If you have all four, everything you're a min Nesher. Everything else is tar, but you have to uvacha yakir that it's not one of the 23. One of the 23. Right. Okay. Yeah. Let's run through the Gemara real quickly. Toirim is the opposite. Now the Gemara is going to say later on that we're not learning up from Toirim. We're not learning up. And the Gemara at the end of the Gemara is going to say why we bring down Toirim. Toirim sheyesh le'etzbi yiseir v'zefik kokavan and niklav ve'ein dersa v'ochlin Toirim. Avkol kiyetz behem Toirim. The Gemara is going to say that the safe is lavdafka. We're learning from the Reisha. Abai. Oh, so the question is, so what do you mean? Why does the Mishnah say that it's that it doesn't say the simonim? We're learning out from Nesher the simonim. Chazal touched it up and they recognized the svara that was midivrei seifrim. That's not midivrei Torah, which comes out of gavaldig svara, or which comes out of gavaldig important thing. How did Chazal to decide to define that this is what a Nesher is? I would have said it has something to do with the turn beak. The way it turns its head, I don't know. There's a lot to say. The size of it. By the Goyim, they say it has to do with they measure a nesher if its prey is more than 50 centimeters or not. Well, I don't know. It would seem that these are svaris. If you say again, it goes back to the shaila of what simonim are. But if simonim are a siba and not just a simon, and the pshat is that these simonim somehow show clearly that somebody is a oifa doiris, or it's some sort of a bird of prey, and it's a siba, then it would be mistaba for Chazal to say that these are the simonim that we're gonna isolate. Otherwise, Mechet Hesa to Bechlal discuss these simonim. What are these simonim? Why are we recognizing these simonim? Unless you say it's Allah Chol Meshach B'Sinai, which we'll see. Okay, so tomorrow right. Again, we're gonna, and there's a lot of different shittas in how to learn, but we're learning with Rashi very clear. We're going again with the same thing that if you recognize how every single bird looks of the Chaf Daled Oifis, besides the Nesher, the only one that's expandable is Nesher. Nesher, anything that has the four is a problem of Nesher. Otherwise, it's very, very, very distinct. The Chav Gimel Oifos, them, so if you recognize them and how they look, right? So your whole thing you're worried about is if it's a Nesher. Because if it's, right, so therefore, Tani Reb Chia, Oif Haba B'Simen Echad, if it has one Simen Taira, Tar. It can't be a Nesher because Nesher doesn't have any Simoni Taira. And you recognize that it's not one of the Chav Gimel, so therefore it's good. Nasher the less leklal who the techel ha ikka the islay chad techel. This one has one. You can eat it. Frekti marakasha. V'leiliv mitoirim. Who told you to expand Nesher and say that everything you have to have, or that Nesher is a problem, that you only 4 things is going to be tummy. But if you have, but anything else, that if you have even 3 simoni, if I should say that every single time a bird doesn't have all 4 simani taira, it's tame because it's not tame to tairim. V'leiluf mi tairim from a pigeon. Ma tairim deka kulu arba. Afachanami adeka kulu arba. That I need. Yeah, I should need all 4 simani taira. Yeah, so in Ken Shar Oifis to Mehem the Kos Rachman Alamli. Why did the Torah have to be pirate all the other Oifis? We were mocked him, and Rashi brings it down over here. And the Gemara is going to say that 20 out of the 24 have 3 simani taira. So if it's tame already, everything that doesn't have all 4, that's not the tairim. So then why did the Torah have to be pirate all these 20? Now, the fundamental problem in the sugya is what the Gemara's kasha is on the next step, because l'chura everything should be good right here, but then the Gemara has a kasha that's a little bit shver. V'leilif minayu. Let's learn up from them. What do you mean leilif minayu? Why should we? That 3 is going to be a problem. What do you mean? But if 3 is a problem, then we could have learned it up from Torah. And the reason why we didn't learn it up from Torah is because then why did the Torah have to be paired all 3? This is Tosfos' kasha. That's a fundamental problem in the sugya. We're going to just go as if it's not a kasha. Okay? I think the best way to do it is to, instead of trying to say a teretz to this, let's just go through. But that's a problem, a cheshbon sugi. Frekti gemara v'neiluf minayu. Let's learn out, and we're almost finished. Okay, v'neiluf minayu. Let's learn out. In other words, that what? That the Torah asked 20 birds and said that these 20 birds are asur because they have, and even though they have 3 simani taira. So let's learn up from there that all birds that have 3 simani taira is a problem, and will because Reb Chia's psak is not going to be true. That you can have oifis that show up with only one. So I only found one simon taira, and it's not kosher because I need all 4. Just like the Torah asked these 20 that have 3 simoni taira, and the Torah said you can't eat it, so all times you can't eat it. And I'll ask 3 and 2 and 1. Why did the Torah have to say that? Why did the Torah have to tell you about the Erev? And the Erev is that one bird that has only 2 simani taira. Right? How should the Islay close or leachlin on the Islay train me boy? If 3 is not good, then 2 is for sure not good, and Erev only has 2. Okay, good. So I can't learn out that I need 3. That 3 is not good. But let's learn out from Erev that just like if an Erev is not good because 2 are not good. Let's say that mahosam trey loy, I've called trey loy. Every time you have a bird with only 2 simani taira, it should not be good. Why did Torah tell us about Paras Vazania? Paras Vazania only have 1, right? And if Daimon Oyrev is already a problem, so Paras Vazania should for sure be a problem. Okay, good, gotcha. Okay. But let's say if I had 1, it should be a problem. V'nigma mi Paras Vaznia. Let's learn that from Paras Vaznia. That what? That if it has only 1 simani taira, it should be a problem. Why did the Torah have to say about a nesher? Nesher has no simani taira. It must be the Gemara says that if it's doing with Paras Vaznia, it's a problem. It's a problem. The less like cloud mi boy nesher should for sure be also. Ella, it must be. So we're not learning out from any of the Chav Gimel, only the Nesher. Ella, Nesher, the less like klal, hu the loy techel, ha the is chad echol. End of the, right? Frak the Gemara now, Kash, right? That's the shtickle there. So we took the Gemara. Ella, tie with the Kos Rachman and Nesher. Halav hachi have amina leil from Paras Vaznia. 1 second, I would have thought to learn out from Paras Vaznia. Frak the Gemara, 1 second. Paras Vaznia is 2 psukim. Havli Paras Vaznia shnei ksuma boim kechel, v'shnei ksuma boim kechel ein melamdim. Sagt the Gemara. Paras Vaznia won't be a shnei ksuma boim kechel ein melamdim. Why? Because they have to, even though they each only have one, but the one that they each have is a different one. Gemiri, the Ika Bahai, Leka Bahai, the Ika Bahai, Leka Bahai. It's a different simon, right? One of them has the Mechudish, and the other one doesn't have the Mechudish. It's two different simon. So it's not Boim Kechad, because maybe one is a problem, the other one's not. Frankly, Gemara Kasha, Michti, good. It's not Boim Kechad because of the Paris and the Osniya, but let's take away from all the other ones. Let's snatch a simon by all the other ones and pair it with the Paris and the Osniya, or Paris or the Osniya, and we'll get. Yeah, frankly, Gemara. Michdi esrim ba'arba oifis tameim. There's 24 oifis. Efshad dechad de'ika b'hanach leka b'hani. Right? It has to be that one of that's in the other oifis, which is still tamei, is also by the Paris Osni. Says no. Gemiri esrim ba'arba oifis tameim. Yeah, and we're going to finish with this. There's 24 oifis. Va'arba simon. Okay, this is the rule, and this is what we're going to leave it. There's S, and we already said this before. We're going to say it again. S and va'arba oifis tameim have these 24 oifis, and there's 4 simonim. Tlasa hadri bikulu. 3 of the simonim, the same 3, are in all 20. Tlasa hadri bikulu means there's 3 simonim that are in everything except the mechudesh, except either the Paris or the Osniya. Okay? Tlasa hadri bikulu in everything, meaning in the Oirev and in the 20. Bikulu. Esrim mehem shloisha. 20 of them have 3 of the hadri bikulu. Utrei ba'oirev, and 2 of them in the oirev again of the hadri bikulu. Chad beperes, v'chad be'osniya. But there's only one in the Paris and one in the Osniya. D'isa b'ha lesa b'ha. But when it comes to Paris Osniya, one has and one doesn't. Mao the tema leiluf minei kasvach mana nesher, that the nesher the less leiklal who the loy techel ha ike the islay chad echol. And now the Gemara has the kasha alu terim the kasvach mana lamali amravuk b'chama le carbon. Yeah, terim is only legabi carbon. That's where I need all 4, but everything else I don't need 4. And we're going to stop here because we went way over time. Rabbi say, shkoyach Rabbi say. Okay.